I welcome you all on this very own Joining Hands platform. Um, we are at 6:04, right? So we might have people coming in for next few minutes. So till then, I would like you all to just type in the chat and let me know how many of you have attended some previous sessions with Joining Hands, are familiar with the concept of inner child. You can raise your hand, so you can just type in. Yeah. Is there anyone who is absolutely not aware about what is inner child? Okay. Yeah. How many of you are aware of family constellation as a modality? Okay. So no worries, even if you're not aware of any of these concepts, what we are going to do today is going to make you aware of these. And I would highly recommend that post this session, maybe or whenever you get time, or take time out to visit our previous sessions on Joining Hands platform, which are on Family Constellation as well as Inner Child Healing by Ishani. She has done some wonderful sessions and people have really benefited from it. So it would be really good if you can take time out and visit those sessions. But if you have no idea of any of these, it's not an issue. We are just going to be talking about these modalities. These are labels, I would say, and before getting overwhelmed by these names, family constellation or inner child healing, let's talk about some simple things. Before we begin, I would like you all to just close your eyes and take few deep breaths in. And let's just create a space here and put an intention that we all get what we are here, what we are intending to receive from this session here today. So just close your eyes, take a deep breath in and breathe out through your mouth. And just empty yourself. One more. And one more. And you can open your eyes and come back here and now. I think some of you have raised your hands in response to previous questions. I would just ask you to put those signs off. Yeah, thank you very much. So I just want you to, if you have your notepads and pens ready by your side, we might need them. So just be ready with those. Or you can, if you're comfortable taking notes on your electronic devices, that's also fine. When do you think your life, this life, started? There are theories about it. We all know that when we are in the womb of our mothers, we do sense what mother senses. It has a deep impact. And we have traditionally, there are many rituals that a mother goes through. We have Garbha Samskar, so that the child in that womb receives all sorts of positive vibrations, right? But does our life start when our mother conceives, really? Some say that our life starts when our parents conceive. Some say that our life starts when, for the first time, parents think of conceiving. But science has now proved, and let me tell you this new information, maybe it's new for some, new for old for some, but our life starts when our mothers are in the wombs of our grandmothers. When the fetus is 5 months old, when our mothers were 5-month-old fetuses, they had the eggs. And these eggs, they are future us. Once mother conceives and it forms into a full-fledged zygote, one of which was us. So what my mother went through as a fetus, what my grandmother, my grandparents radiated when my mother was in the womb of my grandmother, all that has left impressions on that 5-month-old fetus, on that egg, which is me today. So when did the life start really? As I leave you with this thought, and I'll come to it later, I have been into family constellation for past few years, but my journey started with Reiki as a Reiki master. And then came the inner child healing and the family constellation and several other modalities. So what I'm going to talk today is going to be a combination of all my learnings in this journey. So there are going to be some foundations which I have received from Reiki, from energy healing. There are going to be some foundations which I experienced as an inner child healer, and how it graduated into a family constellation, and how family constellation as a modality can help heal our inner child trauma. So the first principle that I would like you to just take a note, or probably you can write down, you can take a mental note of it, is everything is energy. So by that, what I mean is, when we are talking about inner child, that child in us is not a separate person. That inner child in us is an energy, is a form of energy. Second principle that is a universal principle about energy is everything is energy. It is everywhere. Energy cannot be created, cannot be destroyed, but it can be transformed from one form to another form. So my inner child is an energy form in me. Energy can be transformed from one form to another form. And who can transform this energy? Only energy can transform energy. That's the third point that I would like you to remember. And then we come to what is inner child. So inner child, as we all know, when we are born, we are pure energy and we are very, very vulnerable. So in this vulnerable state, and in that state when we are dependent on our parents for every need, be it a physical need, be it an emotional need, be it a spiritual need, for all kinds of needs, we are dependent on our parents or primary caregivers. At the same time, we are so vulnerable that there is a survival instinct which is very, very strong. And so we are constantly trying to survive and to protect ourselves, which means that we adopt some behaviors, some beliefs, some traits, which we think in that state are helping us to survive, are helping us to thrive, are helping us to meet our own needs. So I'll give you a small example that if child is hungry, it would cry. When that child cries, mother understands that it needs something. And she would check, and if she understands that child is hungry, she would feed the child. And this is the feedback that child receives, that when I am hungry, I must cry so that my mother understands I am hungry and she feeds me. And this is how it starts to ask for its needs. If in this state, child is crying and mother is not available, let's say mother is not around to hear that cry, or mother is busy taking care of another sibling, or mother is busy doing something which is at that moment in time is important to attend. Child would cry, cry and cry, and probably interpret this as, when I cry, my mother is not available. I should stop crying. It is not making any sense to her, and my needs are not being met by crying. And it may just choose another behavior. It would try a second way, a third way of attracting her attention. And the moment mother is available, it would take it as a feedback that yes, this works. This helps me meet my need. And so it would continue that behavior, which very unconsciously turns into a pattern as we grow up as adults. So an adult may exhibit the same behavior when it needs something. It may not cry, but it may throw some other tantrum. It may have some other mechanisms by which it tries to attract the attention, and so that the needs are met. And this is how our personalities are building up. So we build our defenses, and these defense mechanisms are also nothing but energies, very dense energies, which we are wearing as our masks, as our protection layer to meet our own needs. But this is one more important thing that we must need to understand, is that these defense mechanisms are our perceptions of how we understood this world as children. So as a child in that state, I understood my world around me based on this feedback that I got from my environment, from my parents. And this was my interpretation. So that mother might be busy with something else, and she has not chosen consciously not to attend to my cries, but I interpreted it, or my perception about her became as she doesn't care about it. And I carry that perception. So it is how I understand the world as a child, how I face the world as a child, and what responses do I choose. This becomes my pattern and my mechanism as I grow. But these leave very deep impressions on our psyche, on our subconscious. So when we talk about inner child trauma here, a trauma doesn't need to be a very big event. Trauma is always assessed by not its magnitude or a proportion. It is assessed by its impact or the intensity. So to give you an example, if a 3 or a 4-year-old child goes out with its parents and for a brief moment, it is lost in the crowd. So maybe for 2 or 3 minutes, it is lost in the crowd, doesn't know where to go, where to find its parents. And later on, parents in few minutes find the child and they spend a good time later on. But these 2 or 3 minutes span when that child feels lost, when that child feels unprotected and vulnerable, may leave a very deep impact. And later on, when we grow up, we might forget about these incidences, or it may just become another talk in the family that, जब तुम छोटे थे ऐसे हुआ था और हम इतना डर गए थे. Or that child also may tell this story to others that पता है मैं जब छोटा था तब ऐसे हुआ था, मैं बहुत डर गया था, फिर मैंने माँ को देखा, फिर मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा और उसके बाद ना हमने ये किया वो किया. It can just become another memory, but this child may carry this impact without realizing unconsciously in the present day life as feeling lost when it comes to taking decisions, feeling lost and overwhelmed when it has to talk in front of the crowd or it has to perform at a workplace. It may just leave these marks without knowing that it has a relation to some memory in the childhood, which has a deep impact, which was not very desirable. And it can be a trauma. It can be a very traumatic state for those 2 minutes, but the impact lasts for life. So when we talk about trauma, it doesn't have to be a very big thing. It can range from one small incident, one small remark by somebody who you love, like your mother, who you are closest to, or to something as big as losing one of the parents or sexual abuse. So the range of trauma could be very wide, but trauma is assessed by its impact. That's one point that I want you to remember. So now, as we said, that energy can be transformed by energy. So what does that mean then? So as we said, that what we perceive as trauma and what we perceive as the world is like this is our perception, which comes from our conditioning right from our past lives to this life, and also through generations. So that is our perception, that is our personal reality. And to transform this energy, what is needed is something larger, something bigger, a more powerful energy. And what is that more powerful energy? That is what the knowing field is. Those who have a little bit of background about family constellation would know this term, but for those who don't know, let me give you a small example. Everything has a system, as we know. Okay. So let's take example of our bodies. So our body is a system which tries to maintain its balance. Okay. Everything that happens is being recorded in the energy field. Okay. So right now, whatever I'm saying is being recorded in the energy field. Whatever you are listening to, whatever you're thinking right now is being recorded in the energy field. So coming back to systems, my body is a system. And if I get a fever, okay, so my personal reality is I am feeling feverish. And that means that I'm feeling uncomfortable right now. And I need to take a tablet, maybe a paracetamol, and get back to ease this feeling of discomfort in me. That is my personal reality or perception about fever. But body is a larger field that knows something more than what I know. So my body knows that there is a viral attack and I need to increase the temperature in order to kill that virus, in order to protect the organs. And that's what body knows. What I know is I have a fever, I'm uncomfortable, I need something, and I take a crocin, and that's my defense mechanism. And I keep repeating that mechanism in order to feel comfortable back in the body. But my body knows that no, this is not just about the fever. It is about me fighting some enemy to protect you, my dear. So let me fight. Let me do my work. But we suppress it. So this body, when it is allowed to work with this greater body of knowledge, it is possible that next time that virus will never ever attack me, because I'm allowing that system to work with what is rather than what I think it is. Are you with me on this? You can just type in your responses in the chat box. So far, are you with me? You can raise your thumb. Yeah. Thank you. So only with this knowledge or a higher energy, I can get my power back to know that this fever is not my enemy, and I can deal with it without taking a tablet, and I can allow my body to work and get protected, or can dissolve this pattern forever. So when we talk in terms of body, the same applies for every system. Our families are big systems. And in these systems, there is a lot of knowing, something that our personal intellect or cognitive memory doesn't know, but it is recorded in the energy field of the family system. And so it has a power to take us from what we think it is to what it is. It has a power to show us the truth and release us and free us from our own impressions that we have chosen to form and live with. So this is the fourth and the most important principle of family constellation work, is that our knowing field has a power to change, dissolve, and clear our limiting beliefs and perceptions and heal us. It has power to release that stuck energy within us and allow the life force to flow through us. So we saw four principles. Inner child is energy. Energy can be transformed by higher energy, and the perceptions can be changed, right? And the knowing field in terms of family constellation has a power to change our personal reality or impressions into something which can release the stuck limiting energies within us. Family constellation by itself is a very vast topic in its depth and breadth. But today's session, as we are talking about how we can heal our inner child traumas with the help of family constellation system, I will tell you, I'll now take you through some examples, which are real life examples which I have come across in my work, which will help you understand how these things work and how family constellation can help in these cases. So the first case I would like to discuss with you is, this person came to me with a symptom that I have persistent relationship issues. No, I cannot keep up with relationships. And I'm constantly feeling rejected by my partner. So when we went through the history and we did few inner child healing sessions with this person, where it helped us to know what's been the story of this person. It also helped that person to be in awareness about how these things can impact and how patterns are formed. But beyond that point, the pattern persisted. Though that person could deal with the pattern better, but the pattern did not dissolve here. So we put up a family constellation. So when we put up a constellation for this person, what came up? What surfaced? What surfaced is, as a child, this person has witnessed disagreements and fights between mother and father, which I knew as a part of her story, that my parents used to have fights. All right. And what this person carried as a child is that my father doesn't respect my mother enough in such situations. And being attached to her mother, she used to feel that anger on behalf of her mother, that my father is not treating her well, and my mother is tolerating it, and she is not retaliating, and I'm feeling angry about this whole thing, which culminated into her belief that men are not worth the respect as she grew up. One more thing that started happening as she grew up is she started to have a lot of arguments with her father. Now, all that I'm saying is a factual record of what she shared with me. But when we put up a constellation, what we saw is that she is projecting her anger for her father in all her relationships. So the point to note here is that a child has a blind love towards its parents. In terms of family constellation, we call it blind love, where we are entangled to our loved ones. So it could be parents, it could be some other ancestors, but in today's topics relevance, I am talking about only parents here. A child is blindly in love with a parent. And so what happens is, it is not its primary emotion. Primary emotion is something that is very authentic, first-hand emotion that I experience about something. And a secondary emotion is when I feel that emotion on behalf of somebody. So if you have ever fought for your friend in a public, so somebody said something to your friend and you got angry, you got more angry than your friend, and you picked up a fight with that person. How can you say this to my friend? No, that's the secondary emotion. So it's not the primary emotion that I'm feeling for myself. I'm feeling it on behalf of somebody else. And often in a parent-child dynamic, when a child is entangled with a parent or is in blind love with a parent, it often feels or carries the emotional burdens of a parent, thinking that if I carry it for you, mother, you will be comfortable. Let me carry it for you. But does that happen? It doesn't happen, because when a child thinks that my mother or my father is not strong enough to handle a particular situation or a particular emotion, the child is unknowingly taking a place of a parent. You all can give me a minute. Let me just close my window because there is a lot of background sound coming. Just yeah. So then what's happening is parent is here and a child is here. We are receiving our lives from our parents. We are receiving the life force from our parents. When I think that my parent is not good enough, not strong enough to handle its own life, and let me handle it for my parent, I am just reversing this position. I am trying to be bigger. And when this happens, a water cannot flow in the reverse direction. It can only flow in this direction. So a life force that we are receiving from our parents, we don't receive enough if we lose our place as children. We try to be bigger. And this is what happens when we try to carry their emotional burdens unknowingly. And this is happening very unconsciously. This is a very innocent act of love on the child's behalf. So at one or the other point, it happens with many of us. And there is absolutely no reason to feel guilty about it, but need to understand this is a very innocent act of love. And in this process, we are too small to carry their burdens. When we are too small to carry the burden, what will happen? We will drain our energies. We are not supposed to. I'm just a little child in front of them. I'm not supposed to handle these problems for them. And this is what happens. And when this came to the awareness through family constellation, that she doesn't own this emotion she is carrying on behalf of her mother. And when she experienced this in the knowing field, that was a sense of relief for her. That was where she could let go of this belief. Now, what has happened in this process is also that She lost respect for her father and she started resisting her father. So we are receiving life from both our parents, a mother and a father. So when you're making yourself bigger than your mother, you are not receiving enough life force from your mother. And when you are resisting your father, you are neither receiving life force from him. And this would manifest in your life in some or the other way, where you will constantly feel burdened. Even after doing so much, my partner is not reciprocating. I do so much, but people never reciprocate in the same manner. You're constantly doing so much for somebody else because you are carrying somebody else's burden already, and you are not available to live your own life. This is one example where the inner child has chosen something in a very innocent state out of love for the parent. And that impacted and drained this person throughout the life till the point it realized in the constellation that this emotion doesn't belong to her in the first place. Yeah? With me so far? So let's move to the second example. In this example, this person came to me with a problem statement, with a symptom that I'm constantly angry with my child. There's a lot of anger, and I know that I should not be taking it out on my child, but I'm doing it. And I want to stop this. So when we spoke, when we looked at the family, what unraveled is that this person carried a feeling of being unwanted as a child. Her story was that my mother never wanted me. I don't remember that she ever hugged me or she ever, was, I'm physically not comfortable being close to her because she never hugged me as a child. I was constantly craving for her touch. I'm unwanted. She did not pick me when I was born. This was her perception about her mother. Now, she carried this anger for her mother all her life. She never loved me. She never loved me. She was never available. When we put a constellation for her, it reveals something completely different. In the constellation, she saw that her mother loved her so much. But her mother too carried this feeling of being not good enough. And so her grandmother. Her grandmother also carried these feelings of not being good enough, being unwanted. And we see this heritage. A grandmother feeling unwanted, not feeling good enough, passed on to mother. Mother is also busy battling this feeling of not being good enough. And a child feeling unwanted. Unknowingly, the anger towards her mother is being projected onto her child now, into the fourth generation. And this is how, in the family, the pattern just carries forward. And this is a very unconscious act. What she saw is her mother never chose not to love her. No parent ever chooses not to love the child. But what we often forget is our parents were children once upon a time. And they had their share of wounds, they had their share of struggles. Their inner child is also needing something and is constantly looking for it. But in the state of a child, we are not aware of it. And we cannot allow our parents to be children. They are also human beings just as we are. And there could be several reasons for which probably a parent is not able to express their love for us. There could be several other problems. In the family constellation, when we did this movement towards mother, she could feel her mother's love and she could express her anger and her need to her mother through reality statements, which then helped her to dissolve that anger in her and move from anger to acceptance. Energy can be transformed from one form to another. The knowing field showed her what it is rather than what she thought it is, which helped her dissolve that accumulated anger in her. And she could move towards accepting her mother as she was. And that helped her to accept her child as it is. And somewhere, when any symptom repeats, it is trying to tell us that something is there which you need to see. Something is there which you need to be aware of. You need to acknowledge it. And when you acknowledge it, when you see the truth, it is freed. And it helps you to move towards your own freedom from your own impressions and projections, is what releases the life force energy, which you're able to receive and heal yourself. There are many reasons for which a parent may not be available for a child. This is called a broken bond in terms of family constellation. When very early in our childhood, if the bond between a parent and a child is broken, then there is resistance and we are not able to receive from our parents. And there could be various reasons. Maybe the mother has had a miscarriage before you came into this world, before she conceived with you. Maybe she is fearful about whether my child would make it this time or not. Maybe she has had a bad childhood. She is a wounded child herself. Maybe she is going through a very rough relationship with the husband. Maybe she is stressed too much with other things going on in her life. And there could be several other reasons for which they are physically or emotionally not available for us. But then we are trapped in our own stories. And we fail to see beyond the story. And this is what a family constellation field can show us. They can show us a picture beyond the stories that we carry in our heads about our past, There is no force in the universe which can pull a mother away from the child. Always remember, it has to be something really, really strong that is having an ability to pull our parents away from us. And that's something strong that our parents face, which we don't know, is surfaced in the family constellation, in the knowing field. So when we are doing inner child work, we are kind of limited by our own perceptions about our childhood stories, what we carried. But beyond that point, family constellation or a knowing field can take us into the area where we see what we have not seen so far. Is when, where I would say family constellation is an extension to inner child therapy work. So when it is extended into this area of constellations, it has a power to show us the truth and free us from these impressions. Moving on to third example, a person came with a symptom that he is not able to sustain any of the job. He's jobless, not able to be successful at any place. He's being sacked from everywhere that he goes. He's depressed all the time, also carries some suicidal thoughts, and has a dysfunctional marriage. So a lot of it is going on in the system here. What revealed in the family constellation or the field is his father too had a history of depression. His father too made a lot of losses in the business. So the family had to go through a lot of financial crisis. And there were fights due to this reason. And often being very much entangled with his mother, this child used to interfere in the fight. In his teens, he remembers that he even got physical with his father in order to protect his mother. So what's happening here and what family constellation field opens up or shows here is, first thing, child has left its place. It often happens when there are fights between parents, there is a void in that relationship. And in this void, children are sucked. Is where we see that mama's boy and papa's princesses. So very, very unconscious process where this child took place of his father. He started protecting his mother like a man of the family. The placement is completely distorted. From fathers, we receive life. From mothers, we learn how to keep and maintain relationships. When this person has taken a place of a spouse at an energetic level, I'm talking about, when the son becomes mama's boy, he's unconsciously taking a place of his father. So as a result, he's not receiving life force from his father. He is not receiving life force from his mother too, because he's no more a child. He has left its place. And when he has taken his father's place unknowingly, there is no place left for his spouse. It's mother there already in the energy dynamics, which reflects in the dysfunctional marriage. He's failing to receive life from his father because he has already taken place of his father. He is looking at his father as a weak person. We receive light from the father, and when we fail to receive light from father, we can often see such tendencies as suicidal thoughts or self-sabotaging behaviors or addictions, something that tends to, to take us away from life force. And the third and the most important thing that this constellation shows us is yes, it has taken a place of a father. It has excluded the father. This child has excluded father from his life. But at a core, it loves its father. It needs his father. So as a source of pure energy at the core, this child loves his father. But at an operational level in life, it has excluded this father. So how would he include that father? That child unconsciously will try to include that father by feeling the same things as the father feels, by attracting some traits, carrying forward some traits in him of his father. This is the unconscious way how we include our parents. So when I'm resisting a parent, I would land up exactly behaving in the same way. So he has attracted misfortune. He has attracted job losses because his father was also a failure according to him. In his perception, his father was a failure. His father was depressed. And he excluded his father and unconsciously always loved his father and tried to include his father by repeating the failures, by repeating the depression. And this is what came to surface during the constellation sessions. This is how children love their parents. One way of loving is including what we resist the most, because in our hearts we know that I don't want to exclude my mother. I don't want to exclude my father because my nature is to love them. But at a conscious level, I'm resisting them. And the system has to balance itself somehow. And this is one way how the family system would try to balance it. It would show in many ways what is being excluded. Because when something is excluded, the jigsaw puzzle is not complete. The family is not in balance. So it will repeatedly show you the symptom. It will repeatedly show you something that you have excluded. In our childhoods, whenever we face such a trauma, such hurts, deep hurts, our cognitive function cannot work. Sometimes it is too intense to form a memory. So it has to go somewhere. So it is stored as fragments of memory in words, in some visuals, in body sensations. And whenever anything close to that happens, our system just plays a replay button and goes back in that moment of trauma, as if it is happening here and now, and reacts in the same way that it would as a child then. And that is how we keep repeating the patterns in the life without realizing that this is a very unconscious automatic response that is coming in. And it is coming to surface because it is seeking answers. It is seeking a better resolution for a problem. It is repeating because that reaction and that response is not working. And there needs to be something else here. Something else needs to be seen. Something else needs to be acknowledged. Something else needs to be accepted here. Until we accept that, it would come and show up in life in one or many areas in different ways. So when we register parents, this is what happens. And this is how the inner child responds. And in the constellation field, when a bigger picture is shown, it has a power to dissolve the earlier impressions, to change our inner perception about life, about our parents, and be in a position where we can take our place as a child in the family, as a child to our parents, and receive life from them. It doesn't matter if your parent is alive or not. It doesn't matter whether they stay with you or they stay away. It doesn't matter if they were successful or failures. It doesn't matter if they were addicts or they were just normal. It doesn't matter whether they were sick. It just doesn't matter. What matters is we received life from our parents. We came through them. It is because in that moment they chose to bring us into this world, is how we exist today. Beyond all our perceptions, all our judgments. Only thing that is important is to be aware and acknowledge that we came through them. It wasn't possible without them. So, on that note, I'll just touch base upon a few points that we saw. An inner child, which is too much entangled with one or both the parents, may land up carrying their emotional burdens, which is neither helping a parent nor a child. So some of the patterns or some of the emotions that we carry today may have its roots in such blind love and entanglements towards our parents. When there is break in the bond in the early childhood with one or both the parents, it may have a traumatic impact on us. We may start resisting one or both the parents, but at the same time, we may start including them in our lives in other ways, by carrying forward their traits, by carrying forward their emotions, their patterns, and even their physical illnesses. We may land up expressing emotions on behalf of them at times, emotions which you don't own yourself, which are owned by your parents or maybe other people in the family whom you are entangled with. And in this, what we do is we lose our places as child. When we lose our place as a child in the family, we stop receiving the life force at its optimum, and which manifests in life as symptoms in relationships, in finances, at workplaces. Our parents tried to give us everything that they could, and the way they knew how to give it. So some things were not available to them. If your parent did not have a parent who was available emotionally, there is a high possibility that the wounded child in your parent is still struggling with that feeling. What is not available to them, they just don't know how to offer it to you. And so the moment we start accepting them as human beings more than anything else, we are able to see them better, and we are able to see beyond our own stories and perceptions. So where family constellation helps is beyond our intellectual understanding. It takes us from understanding to experience. It takes us beyond our own perceptions to a higher perception of the knowing field of what we don't know, but the energy field of our families know. And this is how it can release the stuck energy. As Bert Hellinger, father of family constellation, says, that we should always allow ourselves better perceptions. There is no harm. And our constellation works exactly does the same thing, that it allows us to see a different perception. It allows us to change and transform our inner picture. And this is what this work is about, and how it can help a child in us to cope with what it went through. It can show us what it is, then what we thought it could be, it should be. And it gives us a space and allows us a choice to acknowledge and accept what is, to accept our parents as they are, and acknowledge that we receive this life through them. We exist because of them. And this truth allows us to include them, include what we have excluded, and takes us one step closer to becoming whole again. Are you all with me? Is it making sense?
Yes, so much. Yes, it's wonderful explanation.
Yes, yes. Beautifully explained.
And before ending the session and before moving on to question and answers, we are now going to do a small process. So you all are ready with your pen and paper? Yeah. So what I would like you all to do is just focus. Maybe you want to close your eyes, gather everything, and then start. So close your eyes and be with your breath. Few deep breaths in and out. and bring your parents in front of your eyes. And I would like you to just sense, feel 5 things, traits or patterns of your parents which you are not comfortable with. So for example, I always used to feel that my mother should exercise, she should go for walks. She doesn't take care of her health well enough. So there could be any such thing. Some patterns, some habits, some traits which you were not comfortable with. And you can maybe take a minute to note them down in your notebooks. You can clearly state whether it's coming from your father or your mother. Five things that you always resisted about your parents. Maybe my mother was too disciplined and I never liked it. Maybe my mother was too much into my space. I never liked it. Could be anything, small, big, doesn't matter. That and now I would like you to see if you are repeating any of these in your own lives. So I always felt that my mother does not take care of her health. But today, when I look at myself, I do realize that I'm not regular with my exercise too.
Can you please repeat it? I missed that. I lost connection.
Yeah. So what you could get the first part where you had to
Yeah,
listen.
yeah. No. Just a second. Just now. What you just said.
Yeah. So now what we are supposed to do is looking at that list, see if any of these you are knowingly or unknowingly repeating in your own life.
Okay. Thank you.
In any of the areas, not exactly
Okay.
the same area, but it could be in any of the areas of your life that you are repeating the same kind of behavior or a pattern.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah. It's okay if you don't write it in detail. What is important is that you see it and take a mental note of it. And if you're done, I would request all of you to again close your eyes and bring your parents in front of your eyes. Your mother in front of you on your right, your father in front of you on your left. And just keep looking at them in your mental picture. Keep looking into their eyes. If you want, in your mental picture, you can kneel down on your knees and look up to them. And just feel what you're feeling. And tell them that Mama, Baba, whatever you call them, I received this life from you. I am your child. And you can choose to say this in your own language. You're big. I'm small. As a child, I judged you. I carried all this out of love for you. Today, I drop all my judgments. And in your honor, I choose to live a happy life. In your honor, I'll make something good out of this life that I received from you. If you wish to, you can bow down your head and receive their blessings. And as you get up, and you turn your back towards them, feeling your mother behind your left shoulder, feeling your father behind your right shoulder, and feel them, feel their support. As you look in the front towards your life, and you receive this life force from your parents. They receiving it from their parents. And so on and so forth. You can place your hands on your heart and just include all of them in your heart and say to them, I give you all a place in my heart. And see how you feel looking at your life in front of you. And as you walk towards your life, as and when you feel complete, you can open your eyes and come back totally here and now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was a beautiful session. Beautiful session. I think a lot of things opened for us as well.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
Beautiful session to take us through this journey. Thank
And if you have any questions, Neha, do we have time for questions?
Yes, absolutely. Anyone who has questions, please feel free to raise your hand so
Can
everyone
I
gets.
ask
May I ask a question?
Who's this?
Shilpa here?
Yeah.
Please raise your hands over here.
Shilpa.
Everyone's
Okay.
questions will be taken.
Yeah, I would like to ask you, do you conduct the workshop? You teach?
I do conduct individual sessions.
Sessions.
Yes.
So I would like to take one session personally.
I would. I'm sharing
Share
my
your
number
details,
in the chat box, so you can note down. Are you able to see? Are you able to see my number, Shilpa?
Not yet, not yet.
I think. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, just a minute. Yeah.
Put it in chat.
Yes,
for
yes.
everyone.
Now I can. Now I can. I'll save your number and contact. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have Noor Jahan who has a question.
Yes, Noor Jahan.
Yes, my question is that sorry, it was a little like a disturbance in my volume.
Mhm.
How did you relate the family system with the family dynamics with the body organ? How his body works and how do the family dynamics work in the field? I just missed that part.
Yeah. So, diseases and family systems is a big topic by itself, which probably will be covered in the series upcoming talks also. But to just tell you in brief, um, anything that is unresolved is stored in the energy form, and that energy form could be a pattern, could be a repeating behavior, or it could be in the form of bodily symptoms.
Okay. No, in the beginning you related. How did you relate the
Yeah.
both together? Yeah.
So basically, the any memory which is traumatic, which is very hard to process for the brain, is stored in fragments, and these fragments could be in form of words, in form of visuals, and sometimes in form of body sensations and illnesses. So when we do a constellation, we can look at from where this symptom is originating, and that can help us to resolve or transform the stuck energy.
Thank you so much. It was a lovely session. I learned a lot.
Thank you, Noorjan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am, I have a question. Okay, if anyone is not taking.
Deepika, 1 minute. We have people who
Sure,
are
sure,
waiting.
sure.
Yeah,
Sure, sure,
please.
sure. Yeah, no worries.
Raj, please unmute and ask.
You said that, ma'am, every energy can be transformed by high energy. So, is there any process by which, a daily process by which we can transform our energy to our parents so that they get healed from their diseases?
This session is about we receiving from the parents, Raj.
Okay.
But if you want to really help your parents with anything, probably you can just visualize white light coming from your heart, and you can cover them in that white light and just intend that this white light is healing them. And this white light is a higher energy source or a life force that you are receiving from the universe, and you are receiving it and and just sending it to your parents, covering them this in this white light, and intending better health from them. This you can do daily.
Even if the parents are dead, can we do that even the parents are dead?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Deepika Gupta.
Yeah, hi. Actually, I got my answer. It was similar to Raj, but in my question was, how do we receive the life force when ma'am mentioned it, that you should all, like, irrespective of where the parents are and how the parents had been, we should still take life force from them. So I think I got my answer from what she answered to Raj, that we can imagine a white light, I guess.
No, Deepika, your question is slightly different. You are talking about receiving life force from your parents, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So she was asking
Yeah, the
just
opposite
the
way.
opposite.
Actually,
But
I've lost
for
my
you,
mother 3 years back, so that's why I was asking this question.
so what we just did that you can visualize your mother in front of you. You can just kneel down in front of her and just feel her blessings, and just allow it to process. The best way to start receiving life force from our parents is the moment we stop judging them and accept them as they are.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have any more questions from our wonderful participants? Anybody has questions before we wrap up? Okay, I believe not. Thank you so much, Sonal. It's been such a beautiful calming session with you. It's beautiful. Any last
Thank
words?
you, Neha, and thank you all the participants.
Excuse me, just want to ask. Hello.
Yes, Kira.
I just want to ask, is this session recorded and where can I hear it again, you know?
Yes, the session is recorded, and
Yeah.
I'll put in the details on chat for you to access it on YouTube. Just give me a minute.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sonal. This amazing session. Really,
Thank you.
opened up so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a very nice session. You was doing very nice.
Thank you.
Explanation was very nice.
I hope you all are moving from this place and you have got some of your answers.
Yes. Actually, a guest came at my house, so I have missed her last session, last half an hour. I would get it in the recordings.
Yeah, you will get it on the YouTube.
Yeah. Thank
And
you.
I highly recommend that please do visit the sessions by other therapists on Family Constellation, on Inner Child, or any other modalities that you feel the calling for on joining hands.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sonal, for all our participants. I have put our YouTube channel link in the chat. We have different playlists for Inner Child, for Family Constellations, and today's talk also will be uploaded really soon. So stay tuned and to receive all our notifications. Before we leave, thank you so much, Sonal. It's been a beautiful session with you. Thank you for sharing this with joining hands.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for being part of this.
Thank you, everyone.
To all of you.
Yep. Bye.
Hello. Bye.